What's up, everybody? Hope everyone is having a great, safe, and blessed day. I am here this evening with a very special guest. We got Brad. Brad, you got a lot of great things going for you, man. You just got a podcast. Today was kind of your debut, just announcing it. Introduce yourself, Brad, and talk about your podcast that is brand new, and it won't just be about Miami Hurricanes football. It'll be about, Miami Heat as well. So by all means, Brad, introduce yourself.
Thanks again for having me, Paul. It's a pleasure as always. If you guys don't know me, my name's Brad Tejeda. You can follow me on Twitter, Brad_Tejeda. I'm pretty much your typical Hurricane fan, like the rest of you. I try to cover Canes football as best as I can. Pretty much ended up getting my own radio show on Slam Radio, Sirius XM, channel 145. I will be debuting my show June 30th. It'll be every Tuesday from 12 to 2 p.m. I'll be covering Miami Hurricanes football, whether it's on the field, practice, recruiting. I'll also be covering Miami Heat, your normal NFL teams throughout the week and on Saturdays and Sundays for college football, and hopefully South Florida recruiting as well. I plan on getting a few high school coaches from down there that I know pretty well, and I'm excited, man. It's a grateful opportunity. I honestly can't thank the Amigo morning show family enough, and it's a pleasure, man. It's honestly everything happens for a reason, and I can't thank everybody enough for all the thankful stuff they've said to me in the past couple of days.
Yeah, no, and Brad, you are going to kill it. You're already killing it on Twitter. Every time you tweet, I feel like the whole Canes community just stops and listens to what you have to say, man. So I know we're all excited for your podcast coming up.
Every now and then, man, I try to get up there with my brother Marsh. Marsh kind of blows it out the water at times.
He does. No, he does.
But man, good people, man. It's honestly, I don't even care about being like the guy that gets all the retweets. I used to be that typical fan where like I would literally be on my phone 24/7 just trying to find somebody that has reliable information, or like just try to at least get closer to the team, even though I'm 5-6 hours away, man. So
right, in Gainesville Nation as well, which is a hostile environment. Taz Haitian Canes with a $5 donation. Thank you very much for your support, man. I greatly appreciate it. One of my loyal listeners. Brad, let's get into it, man. We picked up a couple recruits this past week. Deshaun Troutman, I was pretty surprised. He wasn't really on, I felt like, Miami Hurricanes kind of mainstream kind of radar, under the radar recruit. What do you know about Deshaun Troutman, his commitment towards Miami? Are you excited, or you're kind of quite surprised? Maybe he wasn't the take we needed at the time.
So me personally, I think he has a lot of potential, good upside. He's a 3-star from Orlando. He's actually originally from Miami. I believe he played in Richmond Heights Park. Shout out to the Richmond Heights Giants. He actually played with Brashard Smith, Collier, a few of those other guys. So he's actually a Miami native, even though he's just a couple hours north. I think he plays really fast, really physical. I think he fits exactly what Manny Diaz and Blake Baker is looking for that quick linebacker. If I had to put a guess on it as far as who I would say who it reminds me of, I would probably say Jermaine Grace. Jermaine Grace ended up having a pretty good year for Miami. If you look at his stats, he did actually phenomenal. I think he actually surpassed Michael Pickney and pretty close to Shaq Quarterman as far as total tackles as a career as a Cane, and he only played, I think, 3 years, full season. So
awesome. Yeah, no, definitely. At first, when I saw that he committed, I was a little bit skeptical because of his offers that he had. I think it was like one Power 5 school from West Virginia. Now, by all means, I think he's going to get tons of offers now from Florida, a couple SEC schools, because that's kind of what happens when Miami offers. But I do really like his athleticism. I think it does grade out to a Power 5 level. So I really did appreciate that in Deshaun Troutman. Another commit we did get, Jacoby George from Plantation High School in Broward County. I know a lot of people are very high on him. Some compare him to Amon Richards as well. What are your thoughts about Jacoby George? And he's re-entering the class. He was decommitted before. Okay.
I was just about to say, so he's one of the two hopefully recommits. As we all know, Romelo Brinson makes his decision here Saturday. Him and George would probably end up being the two guys that end up recommitting in the class. Actually, along with, I think, maybe Thad Franklin. You could probably put him in there as well, possibly. But dude, George has huge potential. I love his playmaking ability, the way he catches, not only in traffic, but just his catching ability in general. I think he has huge upside. If you look at the wide receiver board right now and who else we are looking after, and the way things are looking right now, man, you could potentially see 3 more wide receivers that Miami could land, and George might end up being the least talent out of the 4, and that's saying something crazy.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
That's huge upside. Oh, by the way, I see a lot of people talking about this Redskins jersey. It's a Sean Taylor jersey.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Yeah, because the Cowboys, Redskins. Yeah, it's a Sean Taylor jersey, guys. So put a lot of respect on that.
Yes, sir.
One of the best safeties of all time, to play. Hey, Brad, I want to ask you a question because I saw Jacoby George. He ran a 4.740. Are you worried about that at all with his speed? How does that work in the recruiting cycle? Was that just some random 40 time that they recorded at a combine, at a showcase?
So me personally, I mean, I'm not worried too much about it because you're going to have plenty of other guys in the wide receiving group that is going to have plenty of speed to make up for it. I think with this Rhett Lashley offense, people are going to be spread out so much to where everybody's going to have their own abilities to shine. I think if you look at a guy like Brevin Jordan's going to be a prime example of a guy who is going to line up wide out, even though he is a tight end. He's not as fast as all these receivers that we have, but I can assure you Brevin Jordan is going to be one of the most impactful players on this offense. And it's because of his playmaking ability. Obviously, George isn't a tight end, but I think George shows high potential as far as being that playmaker.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, hey, the comparisons to Amon Richards, he was that playmaker during his time at Miami. So I'm really excited the fact that we got a local South Florida recruit to come to Miami, Broward County product. Very excited about that.
It's funny you say that, Paul, because we talked a little earlier before the show. My boy Gabby, shout out to Gabby on 24/7. He wrote a great article. I believe it was either yesterday or today about we have 15 commits currently on the board. 12 are exactly from South Florida, whether it be Broward or Dade. Your other 3 commits out of those 15, 2 of those guys were originally from Miami, which would be Troutman, and I believe it's
Elijah Arroyo.
Elijah Arroyo, correct. Yeah. Yes. Those 2 are originally from Miami as well. And then your last guy is, I believe, Malik Curtis, who's only a couple hours away. So I mean, if you think about it, every single commit on our roster right now for 2021 is pretty much from the South Florida area or Florida in general. And I think looking forward, a few more names I'm going to drop later on in the show, and of course we're going to talk about.
Right.
I think you're going to see that we can easily stay in South Florida or Florida alone for pretty much our entire recruiting class next cycle, and you're going to see easily a top 10, top 7, could even be top 5 recruiting class. I mean, me personally, I think the only kid you might see out of state that might be in this class is Jake Garcia.
Right. And we'll get to Jake Garcia and a lot of future recruiting battles coming up. So please stay with us on that topic. Now, regarding, I know this class, like you eloquently said, is, focusing mainly on Broward County, Miami-Dade, and kind of connections to the South Florida area. Now, there is one recruit that is out of state right now who plays outside linebacker and weak side defensive end. His name is Thomas Davis out of Valdosta, Georgia.
Yep.
He just decommitted from Mississippi State, possibly because of the Mike Leach hire. He wasn't recruited by that coaching staff per se. What do you think about Thomas Davis coming to Miami? There's 2 crystal balls headed his way. Kind of what's the situation going on there?
So yes, this is a kid that has huge potential. I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, he can definitely. I think he can make an impact. He's super athletic. He kind of reminds me of Quinn Williams from North Carolina, who we just added this last class. So someone who's very fast or has athletic ability. I know Quentin Williams has a very high vertical, where with Thomas Davis, I believe he ran like a 10.91 100-meter dash. I mean,
Nice.
for a guy that is 6'3", 225, that's pretty serious running a 10.91 in a 100-meter. So I think Romelo Brinson is this weekend. I think you're going to see Thomas Davis right behind him. I think you'll see Thomas Davis committing to Miami very soon. He's going to be one to watch.
And I love that Manny Diaz, he's kind of taking the star system out of place. He's like, listen, if this guy's athletic ability, if it fits our system, we're going to go out and get him. We saw that with Deshaun Troutman. We're seeing that with Thomas Davis, who, just decommitted from Mississippi State, kind of under the table, under the radar guy, wasn't making a lot of noise in the recruiting rankings, was committed to Mississippi State. So I love that Coach Diaz is trusting his staff's evaluation. And I do greatly appreciate that, because sometimes, as we've seen in the past, we tend to, not just us, but schools just tend to offer guys just because of their star rating. Yeah. And, I feel like, as coaches, don't go off of that all the time. There's plenty of recruiting websites who never get it right. So,
you're seeing tons of guys. Look at a guy like Keyshawn Smith this past cycle. He wasn't a highly rated star guy, but he fits the system perfect. And obviously you can tell by his film, his athleticism is through the roof. And I think I see a couple of people thinking that like top 10, top 5 is like something crazy to think about. I mean, guys, we went 6-7 last year, and we were right outside the top 10, where if we had just a kicker alone, we win 8 to 9 games. And you're talking about, we have a proven kicker now, proven quarterback. I mean, we talk about this every week, it seems like, but I mean, we have too many proven options now where top 10 should be very easily in reach as long as we win football games. I mean, you're looking at a very Inwell class as it is, and there are plenty of names out there that is considering Miami very, very strongly.
And speaking of names, June 13th, which is in a couple days, is actually my mom's birthday as well. Romelo Brinson would be a great gift for my mom in my eyes, but he's making his decision. What's going on there? I've heard this, Brad, and please tell me if I'm wrong. I heard Texas A&M and Miami, it's a two-way battle. I've also heard watch out with Georgia and Kirby Smart. They are a dark horse to pull Romelo Brinson. Are we in the hunt to land him? What's the deal, Brad?
So not only are we in the hunt, but we have our gun out. Scope is on him, and I think we're ready to get him. I honestly think this is 99.9% Romelo Brinson will be a Hurricane. I think that domino, if that domino does indeed fall, you're going to see a huge domino effect. I think Cameron Kitchen is 100% a Hurricane if Romelo Brinson decides he wants to be a Cane. I don't think Texas A&M, they seem a little quiet the past few days. I know with Georgia is considering another priority over Romelo Brinson, so it kind of helps us in our favor. I believe it's Marcus Clark or Marcus Burke. I'm sorry, Marcus Burke. So Burke is their number one priority right now at Georgia, where Romelo Brinson not only falls down as their priority, but if you look at their wide receiver chart, he would probably have to redshirt automatically with them. Where with us, all you're really having after this year leave is Mike Harley and potentially a D Wiggins if D Wiggins pops off again this year. My boy Garrett, what's up, man? Cane fam. But I think either D Wiggins and Mike Harley gone, you're looking at nothing but freshman and sophomore, where the sky's the limit to where any of these kids can get playing time.
Yeah, absolutely. And winning recruiting battles over Texas A&M, like I personally, I have a lot of respect for Jimbo Fisher. I really do. And I think he is an ace recruiter. Also has James Coley on that staff. So it really shows as a program and as a staff, the recruiting battles we're possibly winning. We just won Elijah Arroyo, tight end in the state of Texas, over Texas A&M. And by all means, I mean, we can debate this, but I feel like Texas A&M as a program has more stability as Jimbo Fisher as your head coach at the moment compared to Manny Diaz in the season he's coming off of.
Yeah, and not only that, but they have money. Well, when you talk about all these SEC teams, even if they're not the powerhouse teams like Texas A&M, for example, even Auburn, they're not a powerhouse, but
Right.
they have money to fund and back them up.
Yeah.
It seems like they do put football as a pretty big priority there. Where with Miami in recent years, it doesn't seem like we've done that. But then again, all we have to do is win. We've made the right hires on offense. Everything's finally coming together. I think you're going to see a huge difference this year, man. But going back to Romelo Brinson, I haven't tweeted this yet. I haven't. I've only said this to a few people. They think I'm crazy. I obviously this is not on the record saying that I know anything, but I kind of look deep into tweets at times. And when Romelo Brinson was talking about breaking the internet, I think if Romelo Brinson is indeed a hurricane, which everything he's tweeted in the past week indeed shows that he's going to be a hurricane, why not break the internet and why not have Cam Kitchens wait another week or two? Let's get it done all at the same night. You could see them both pop all on Saturday, both of them. It is a possibility. Like I said, and no one's told me this. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I think it would be something cool and different. It would definitely break the internet. Both of them ended up committing to Miami on Saturday night. But you get those two guys, you're looking at guys like Rashard Smith, Keith Brown. Those are two more wide receivers that is very strong with Miami right now. And like we discussed earlier with George, you add Romelo Brinson, Brown, and Rashard Smith, you're looking at your 4 wide receivers right there. And that's an amazing wide receiver class.
Brad, I got to ask you, since you brought up Rashard Smith, the Miami Palmetto Senior High School, they got outstanding 5 great recruits. Miami Palmetto, history-wise, was never a juggernaut in Miami-Dade high school football. I remember they had that running back, Barry, that went to Ohio State back in the day.
Yep.
Not too long
Jamal
ago.
Berry.
Yeah, Jamal Berry, yep. Man, how are we looking with those guys? I know Savion Collins is committed to the class. A lot of people say he's going to jump ship. Jason Marshall Jr. just uploaded a picture of himself in Miami gear. Are we still in play with Jason Marshall Jr. or is that out of the picture?
I'm gonna be honest with you. The edit by itself is amazing. I mean, shout out to Dominica Nuwoko. I believe that's how you pronounce her last name, but she is killing all hurricane edits right now. I mean, you see James Williams as well. I don't know if we have a strong shot at James Williams currently, but he's putting up edits as well with Miami Hurricanes. Doesn't really mean much, but I think that's a long shot. I think you see a kid like Leonard Taylor. I wouldn't get it. I wouldn't get too happy. Me personally, I think he's kind of trolling. I don't think. I mean, obviously Miami's the picture, but I think that's one of those kids where he just looks like a SEC defensive tackle. Man, he looks like that next guy. You look at our defensive tackles. We haven't really had anybody dominate on the defensive line since Gerald Willis, and he was a transfer given to us from Florida. So we haven't had much production at D tackle. I think this is going to be the year to prove it. That Coach Stroud is a great developer. He's going to have to prove it with these guys we got with Nessa Severa, Jordan Miller. You got guys like Blissett and Elijah Roberts who just dropped 20 pounds each. So they're a little bit more conditioned, more ready for the season. But sky's the limit, man. All we got to do is drop 35 points a game. We average we average 35 points a game, and the defense does its job. You're looking at a 10-win team.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think recruits, they want to play, for winning programs. Why not? Why take a chance on a program that, just went 6-7, lost to Louisiana Tech, lost to FIU? We need to have a good season and we need to dominate. We need to win a bowl game. We saw kind of, the positive signs when Mark Richt went 8-4 and beat West Virginia. How happy was everyone that we finally won a bowl game against a top 25 team? I mean, it was literally like, I felt like we won a BCS bowl game kind of thing. Everybody saw kind of the tide was turning in the program. So to get local kids to believe, which they already are, they already have shown in recruiting, I think going 10-2, winning a bowl game, the Orange Bowl against a solid SEC opponent, will do wonders for Manny Diaz and this staff. Brad, any other recruiting battles like Keith Brown, for example, we should look out for moving forward?
Not Not right now, no. I think the guys to look out for obviously is Romelo Brinson, Thomas Davis, in those orders, and then of course you got Cam Kitchens,
Yes.
UK Brown, Brashard Smith, Corey Collier, Leonard Taylor, Savion Collins. Those are going to be pretty much the only guys left. I would say the good thing about most of these guys left, besides the two Northwestern guys, all we have to do is prove it on the field, because most of these other kids are not going to make their commitment decision until early signing day, which you're talking about week 8, week 9, around there. As long as Miami is 8-0, 9-1, whatever it is, I mean, there's no way these guys don't consider Miami. I think
Absolutely.
all we have to do is prove it on the field. That's all we got to do. And like Derek was saying earlier, RJ McIntosh, Kendrick Norton, those are two other guys that have shown definitely improvement on the D tackle. We got to see that from our guys this year. No problems.
Speaking of recruiting battles, someone asked me once again. They pulled up that picture on Twitter. James Williams, 6'5" safety out of Western High School in Broward County. Are we even in play with that, or is that just a tease to our fan base?
We're in play, but it's. I think he's one of those guys. He's with the big schools, man. You're talking Georgia, Alabama. I mean, the big time schools.
And I don't blame them. Yeah.
That kid's gonna get money thrown his way, unfortunately. I mean, that's the battle of the beast. But then again, man, this whole where you can have your own way of marketing now for players, that's going to be huge for Miami as long as we can win. There's no place you would rather be than South Florida when we're winning.
100%.
Miami is the place to be when you're winning. I mean,
100%. I mean, Miami is a very bandwagon town when it comes to sports. The Miami Heat, for example, when they're winning, everyone loves them. The Miami Dolphins, it is a football town. The Miami Dolphins is the pro team of Miami, but they haven't delivered. The Marlins, it's a different story on that. But I'm telling you, when the Miami Hurricanes start winning, Hard Rock Stadium is going to be sold out to the T, no matter who they're playing.
I can already hear Derek screaming from here, man.
By the way, Derek Coe is a huge fan of the University of Miami. He's literally on ESPN with the WM Garbage Men as well, with the glasses, right? Yeah, they're always on ESPN. Huge fans of the program, so very cool that he has joined the show. Want to ask you about Cameron Kitchens, teammate of Romelo Brinson, Tim Burns, Corey Hamlet, Miami Northwestern. What's going on? Is that a package deal where Brinson commits, possibly Kitchens does? If Brinson goes the other way, we don't get Kitchens.
100% package deal. No questions asked.
No questions.
Brinson commits, Kitchens is 100% ours. I don't see it any other way, unfortunately. How we saw the Avante Williams thing pan out for Florida this past season, where everyone thought Avante was Florida, I think that's a situation with Romelo Brinson this weekend. If Romelo Brinson picks anywhere but Miami, that's going to be probably one of the biggest misses in Miami recruiting. That's how confident I feel in Romelo Brinson.
No, I 100% agree, especially local kids, man, from Miami Northwestern. That's your pipeline school. Yep. You gotta land those guys. You gotta win those battles. You can't let them go to other programs. You gotta win those battles over Texas A&M. And speaking of debatably, I mean, I think this is probably the most important position on the field. Where are we at regarding the quarterback position? I know we've been very patient. We've missed a lot. We've lost battles. Jake Garcia, for example, committed to USC. Where do we stand right now in recruiting quarterbacks? Who is our top priority? Let's go over the quarterback position for recruiting.
I think you said the word patient, and I think that's exactly what Ray Latchley is going to do. I think he has his eyes on 2 to 3 guys. We mentioned Garcia. You got Jalen Milroe. I think those are 2 guys he's got his eyes set on. He did what he needed to do right now, and I think all he needs to do is let the game talk for himself. You see Miami win 9-10 games easy this year, and you see the offense do a complete 360, which I have no doubt in my mind they will. I think easily either one of those kids will be interested right away in coming to Miami. One of the big things you can offer those kids is you could potentially be
Yeah.
the starting quarterback against Alabama your first game ever as a college quarterback. I wouldn't mind N'Kosi Perry being the starting quarterback, so that's obviously probably going to be the main option. And that leaves you with Tyler Van Dyke, who might stay or could potentially transfer if that's the case,
Right.
but that's a little bit down the road. I want to focus on this year. That this is the year we have to turn things around. If we don't turn it around this year, I honestly don't think we ever will. Everything's on the plate for us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, I'll be honest, I kind of like the wait and see approach.
180, 60. Yes, Eddie the King. Sorry.
Rivals just came out with an article mentioning Jake Garcia might possibly, Miami's in play.
Oh, yeah.
They kind of waited. They expected USC was going to go after Miller Moss. He commits. You got two top quarterbacks, 4-star recruits, both from the state of California, committed to the University of Southern California. You can only really play one as your starter. I think Miami's in a good position to at least make a move on Jake Garcia. Do you think that possibly is still in play, or we have a lot of work to do? Jake Garcia is a hard commit to USC. I mean, he is a Southern California kid, so that is the dream.
Yeah, I think there's still a little bit of work to be done. I'm not saying that it's something very simple, but we win games. A lot of fans are going to be surprised at how easy these recruits are going to be to land. Don't get me wrong. I was one of those guys that was pretty tough on Rump, but if we win football games, you're going to see these corners start coming left and right, and Rump's not going to have to do much at all. I mean,
right.
There's no better place to play than the Miami Hurricanes.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, but college football is totally different when Hurricanes are on top. You look at 2017 when we were the number 2 team in the nation. We were on TV every other day, it seemed like.
Yeah, no. And it's crazy. Like, recruiting's never really been a problem at Miami. Generally, Al Golden had a top 10 class. Mark Richt had a top 10 class. We tend to start number 1 in the nation, and then we slowly kind of work our way downward. We lose recruits. That's because of losing. But it's fairly easy to have a top 10 class at Miami, but nobody has consistently won. So once Manny Diaz gets a 10-win season, and get another 11-win season, I mean, build off of it. That's how you build a stable, a juggernaut program.
Absolutely.
So,
and it starts with the trenches. You see what we're doing right now with the offensive line. I'm sure you were just about to bring up Jared Williams, but adding a guy like Jared Williams is not only a impact starter right away who takes care of one tackle spot, but it allows you to have two, 3 to 4 guys that you're able to redshirt this year that you probably weren't able to do in the future. I mean, obviously, yeah, we're not going to beat Alabama. I don't see us beating Alabama either. We're not on that level yet. But I would rather have N'Kosi Perry starting over Tyler Van Dyke. I saw a few people chiming in about Van Dyke over Perry. I would give Perry a break, man. He when he first came to Miami, he was very young, little hard headed. You got to think he was getting coached by John Rick, so there wasn't really much coaching ability there. The system he played in high school, he has never seen in college yet, and now being in a Rhett Lashley offense, this year alone gives him a full year to actually relearn pretty much the system that he was in high school. So not only does it make him a lot more comfortable, but he's able to learn behind De'Aaron King, who's a leader and who's going to show you how to lead by example on and off the field. Where I think this is a huge benefit for N'Kosi Perry moving forward. He's definitely changed his character, as you've seen off the field. He's very quiet now. Doesn't do any of the stupid things he's done before. I wouldn't knock N'Kosi Perry one bit. I think him being in this system is going to do nothing but excel him moving forward.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's kind of funny, John Rick, he had kind of 3 different OCs, Mark Richt, Dan Enos, and Rhett Lashley. Kind of Kyle Wright, if you remember him, early 2000s, number 1 recruit in the nation. He had 4 different OCs while his time there. So that really does affect a quarterback and their play and their development. So watch out. N'Kosi Perry might develop fairly well under Rhett Lashley. And once again, Mark Richt did compare him to Charlie Ward, who won the Heisman Trophy at Florida State. So anything is possible. For me, Brad, personally, I love the transfer portal. I love that how it's a free agency. And we've learned many times there's going to be a very good quarterback that will be available late in the season in the transfer portal. So I don't mind if Manny Diaz gets, let's say, Jake Garcia and another guy from the portal, kind of that Kirby Smart aggressiveness, getting Jamie Newman and JT Daniels. One's got to work out. So
Absolutely. I mean, we're unfortunately, people were bringing this up earlier. Unfortunately, we're one of those schools where you see a lot of kids leave early when they're not supposed to. They leave their third year, and it kind of has that huge gap in between where you have this third to becoming fourth year senior that was going to hold down one side of the field for you, and now you're having to bring up a first year guy or even a second year guy who had no playing time the year prior, be that number one guy. Where now you bring in the transfer portal. The transfer portal has helped us out tremendously in that aspect,
yeah.
fill in a lot of grooves and gaps where you would have seen huge differences. I mean, you look at a guy like Bubba Bolden. Bubba Bolden is someone we landed out the transfer portal, and he could potentially be one of the best safeties in the nation this year.
Oh yeah, no, Bubba Bolden. I mean, out of high school, he's the number 2 safety in the nation. 5-star recruit out of Bishop Gorman. Goes to USC. So man, the transfer portal, it does take away some players, but it can give you a lot. And speaking of the transfer portal, our offensive line got 2 great offensive linemen coming in, Isaiah Walker and Jared Williams. I know we were all kind of worried. It took a little while for Jared Williams to commit. We finally land him. What are your thoughts on both of those players coming in?
Like we talked about the last show I was on with Isaiah Walker coming in. He is one of those recruits that we had high on our board this past year. So getting him back in the class was obviously great. Before adding Jared Williams, a lot of people thought Isaiah Walker might have to not only play but might have to potentially start. And you watched that video that he put up a couple weeks ago of him working out. He still needs a little bit of work. He's very athletic, but he's one of those guys similar to Zion Nelson this past year where his body just hasn't filled out yet. But adding Jared Williams, like we mentioned earlier, is going to be huge for our offensive line. You're going to see guys like Isaiah Walker, either Clark or Navon Donaldson. One of those two guys could potentially redshirt. If Navon Donaldson is healthy and he's back in shape, that leaves Ja'Kai Clark as the odd man out at guard, who can actually redshirt. So you got Isaiah Walker. Jalen Rivers is another guy that could potentially redshirt now. You don't have to throw him in right away. And all we're doing is creating depth at this point. We're not only depth, but it's not just bodies, it's quality guys. And then you talk about that 2021 recruiting class. You got guys like Ron Rodriguez, Seymour, McLaughlin, and potentially Julian Amarla. I'm not saying Miami's in the mix right now, but with winning solves everything. I know Ron Rodriguez is trying his best, but we'll see what happens with that. But you look at what Justice is doing, I have nothing but faith.
No, absolutely. $25 donation from Chug Mobir. I greatly appreciate your support, man. Thank you so much. Brad,
Yes,
what
sir.
is your kind of projected offensive line? I know we flip-flop so much, man. Like it's insane. I mean, Navon Donaldson started off as a right guard, moved his way to left guard, didn't really develop after that. Delonte Scaife as well, switched. I mean, we just flip-flop everyone. Zelante Hillary was playing center for us, I think, in the springtime. Who do you think redshirts and who's our starting lineup?
So here's my thing. I think you look at a guy like Scaife. He's one of those guys that could play either right or left guard. Similar to Jared Williams. Both are able to switch positions. I think Jared Williams this past season played more right tackle, but he has played both positions. I do not mind seeing Jared Williams at left tackle, but me personally, the starting five I have from left to right would be John Campbell at left tackle. Left guard is Scaife. Center is Gaynor, right guard is Clark, and right tackle is Jared Williams, which allows you to redshirt guys like Isaiah Walker, Navon Donaldson, and Jalen Rivers. Me personally, I haven't seen or heard much of Navon Donaldson, so this is me purely going based off if Navon Donaldson is not ready to run 60 plays a game. Now, if Navon Donaldson is healthy and ready, by all means, he has to start. This is his money year, his senior year. But I do think if Donaldson or coaching staff seems at all hesitant that he's not ready, I think it benefits him the best to redshirt and give him another full year under his belt to get back in shape.
That's funny because I spoke to someone this afternoon. They also said that to expect Donaldson to redshirt. And I thought that was very interesting. Do you think Zion Nelson, I mean, you just said actually, Zion Nelson will redshirt as well?
I think it would give you another year for Zion Nelson to redshirt. Yes. I think either him or Campbell. Again, like we talked about, there are so many guys in this lineup, 5-10 deep. Now that Jared Williams is on the roster, you're able to be able to pick your poison. I mean, we are now talking good, bad. I mean, bad, good questions. You know what I mean? This is something that we're not used to talking about when it comes to the offensive line for Miami, where we're able to say, hey, do we want this guy to start or this guy to start? He has high upside in this way. This guy has high upside in this way. And it's nothing but good things. I think you can't go wrong with a projection right now. It's still very early. I think there's about 5 to 6 different lineups you can use for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just glad now we have depth moving forward and for the future. You know, we're building a nice offensive line unit that really was a big hole in our offense where we did not have help at all. And it showed last season, giving up 10 sacks to Duke in Florida. That is awful. If you have Dan Marino under center, he will not be successful with that offensive line. So I really do appreciate the aggressiveness from Coach Diaz moving forward.
Absolutely, and we're getting guys who are used to playing in the up tempo offense. Someone mentioned earlier, Jared Williams has played with De'Ara King. He's used to this tempo already. He's used to protecting King on both sides of the ball, on blind side and the opposite. And we're gonna do all right, man. I think I mentioned earlier on Twitter a day or two ago, a couple people were very, very hurt about this, but I think the potential is there for wide receiver group. I think you look at the wide receiver group, you see a lot of young talent. Yes, none of them has projected to do well yet. You look at guys like Mike Harley, Mark Pope. Nobody has probably broken over 300, 400 yards. I believe the last wide receiver we had to break over 600 yards was back in 2016, 2017 with Amon Richards. So we're very obsolete in the wide receiver group as far as how many receivers are getting yards like that. But I go back to this. De'Ara King's wide receivers at Houston were no-name guys, and they balled out. You look at Rhett Lashley's wide receivers he had, like Sam Roche. He had over 1,200 yards. Guy right after that had about 600, 700 yards. Another guy after that had about 500, 600 yards. Then you look at a guy like Rob Likens, who has already gotten 2 wide receivers into the NFL that had both broke over 1,000 yards. The proof is in the pudding. We have the quarterback, we have the offensive coordinator, we have the wide receiver coach. They've all proved themselves already. There's no reason that they should not be able to prove themselves being in South Florida with South Florida talent. We are made to have the best talent in all of college football. Unfortunately, we either just don't land the big guys or we don't have the coaching staff to develop them. It all changes this year.
$20 donation from Mike Williams. Thank you very much, sir. I greatly appreciate it. By the way, guys, Brad is just doing an outstanding job as he always does. Brad, once again, man, please kind of advertise your podcast, kind of the name of it, those of anyone who's not aware of it at the moment.
Yeah, man. Again, I just got my own radio show for Slam Radio Sirius XM. It's on channel 145. I will be debuting June 30th every Tuesday from then on out from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. I will be covering Miami Hurricanes football along with the Miami Heat, your normal NFL games, golf, any type of sporting event going on that week. I'll try to touch on everything like that. And last but not least, South Florida recruiting. We'll go over a little bit of recruiting every week. As soon as high school football starts kicking back up down there, I'll have a few high school coaches talk about their upcoming game. Try to get Larry Bluestein on as well. I got a few guests lined up. It should be very fun. And I intend to get a few Canes fans involved in my podcast to where everybody knows who they are. So
awesome. Definitely check that out, man. It's going to be a great podcast. Brad, speaking of local, South Florida high school football, someone asked a great question, and I have my opinion. And to be fair, I mean, Miami football, you have quarterback play. It's not the strongest, but look at the history of it. Teddy Bridgewater, Geno Smith, Jacoby Brissett's from Broward County or Palm Beach County, one or the other. Brian Greasy, Mike Shula. So we've had Lamar Jackson, Boynton Beach. I forgot that one. Just won the Heisman, but whatever. Why isn't it as strong year in and year out compared to other positions?
That's a good question. I think a lot of it has to do with the type of style that you're seeing played in South Florida. It's a lot of run and gun, a lot of spread formation. A lot of the quarterbacks down south are very mobile guys who don't necessarily fit that quarterback mold position that you see at the next level. Excuse me. They're more of an athletic guy that ends up transitioning to a running back. You look at a guy like Tutu Atwell. Tutu Atwell is a perfect example. Tutu was amazing in high school. Pretty much killed it on the field, and he's killing it as a receiver right now. So I think you look at a guy like that. I'm not necessarily too worried about the quarterback position as far as South Florida. South Florida pretty much gets every other position on lock. I mean, even offensive line. Garen Justice is proving it right now that the offensive line does have plenty of potential in South Florida. You're looking at guys like Tate as well, who's going to Clemson. A few other big name guys like Julian O'Mala as well. There are quality guys in South Florida in mostly every position.
Speaking of high school quarterbacks in South Florida right now,
yes.
Carson Haggard, he's 6 foot right now, 6'1", Miami Gulliver Prep.
Yeah.
That's right in Palmetto, Pinecrest, Florida, which is, in Dade County, just like 10 minutes away from Coral Gables. Look out for that. It could be a late offer, under the radar recruit. A lot of people say he's very talented, but just height measurements doesn't pan out to be a Power 5 quarterback. Also, Zion Turner, St. Thomas Aquinas, I believe 2022, Brad?
Yes.
Look out for him as well.
You mentioning that, actually, there is a guy. Let me bring him up real quick. There is a guy. There's a guy to look for this class. Not saying Miami's going to go hard after him. I do think we have a chance at him. It could be a guy that Mike Rump might pull in late if we don't end up getting anybody else. But his name is Demarius McGee. He's a 4-star corner athlete out of Pensacola. He's got offers from Georgia, Tennessee, Louisville, Ole Miss. That's a guy that Miami is definitely in the mix for. He has shown interest. The potential is definitely there. So that is a guy that to look out for if we don't land any other corners. I know the list is very small right now regarding corners, but again, our defensive staff loves getting guys as strikers. So you will see. You might see a few more guys. Instead of adding another corner, we might add another striker that could convert to a linebacker, striker, or safety.
Nice. Awesome. Well, definitely look out for that name. The name I really had never heard of before. So thank you, Brad. I greatly appreciate it for bringing that name up on the show. Brad, let's kind of go over what's going on in Green Tree right now. Kind of workouts. I know Manny Diaz said that he can't really watch the workouts. He can maybe just talk to them before, give them like a routine. Do you know what's the schedule like on Green Tree right now?
No. Right now, the schedule I have no idea about. I know they're still in groups. They haven't all came officially on to where they are able to do testing. I think that is the next step. You see a few of these other schools like Alabama is a big one where they just had 5 kids, I believe, that got tested for the coronavirus. So that is something to look out for. Yes, we're all excited for Miami Hurricanes football, but you could possibly see some of your favorite players or some guys that you're excited to watch during practice these next coming weeks. They might not be able to play right away due to this corona. So I'm interested to see if everybody does test through and everybody tests out negative for the corona. I obviously pray and hope that's the case. But obviously there are things that happen. But I'm excited, man. I would look out for Gabby Ureta. He is the man when it comes to getting all the insight for not only recruiting but Canes football practice right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, is Coach Feely, is he a part of those workouts? Can he watch them practice at all?
So I don't think Coach Feely is allowed to be involved right now.
Okay, yeah,
I believe you got to wait till it's official.
official.
Yes, I believe that's in another 2 weeks. I think they said June 30th, maybe. I think it was right around, actually, maybe when I debut my show. But it's either June 30th or July, early July. But we'll see what happens, man. I think timing is everything. We've waited a very long time to get a quarterback like DR King. We've waited a very long time to get a offensive coordinator like Rhett Lashley.
Yes,
We've waited a very, very long time to get a offensive line coach who can not only produce but get quality kids. It's very interesting. All the guys that are actually interested in Miami right now, coming off a 6 and 7 season. I don't think you can see that in any other program right now, and it just proves that logo holds a lot of weight. Till this
absolutely. And we have some of the best recruiters in the nation. Coach Fields, in my opinion, I mean, 247 has him ranked top 10.
Yeah.
I think we got one of the best in the nation. The key is to maintain this coaching staff, the offensive staff. I know everyone has their arguments on the defensive side of the football.
Absolutely.
Like I said, reevaluate the coaching staff after every season. So, hey, we'll see what happens. Brad, quick question. Do you like a developer or a coach at the position? Developer or recruiter at your skill position?
That's a tough question. Obviously that goes to one coach and one coach only. But me personally, I think it gives a certain coach a pass. I look at it like this. You hire each guy to coach their position. What goes with that position is obviously off the field stuff and on the field stuff. If you have to get another coach, if you have to hire another coach to do a job for that coach in any particular way, to me, it's a deficit. I used to be a manager at Foot Locker back in the day. Me as a manager, I'm not going to hire one person to sell my shoes and another person to be the model of the store. I want someone who is personable, who can do everything. So when I look at Coach Rump, I see he's a great developer for what he has, but that's his downfall. He gets 2-star, 3-star, but sometimes 4-star guys that could be default. And unfortunately, it takes him 2 to 3 years to develop these guys for you to finally see them blossom. And a lot of the times, the reason is because they were a 3-star, 2-star guy. So it takes them a little longer to develop, to get their weight where it needs to be. Where if you recruit and land 4-star guys to begin with, you're not going to have to wait 2 to 3 years to see these guys blossom. And we know with Miami, most of the time, if a guy blossoms, we're only going to see him for 3 years anyways, because he's going to leave that right. year, say his senior year. I mean, luckily our linebackers stayed, but you don't see that often with Miami. And I think if you land higher potential guys, you're going to see them develop and play right away. That's not always the case. I'm not saying stars is everything, because absolutely it's not. But you start winning games, you start landing the higher recruited guys, things start to become a lot easier. Quality depth starts to build a lot quicker. You start to feel a lot comfortable. When someone goes down, you have someone right behind him who's either proven or who's played quality football.
Absolutely. And a lot of those, coaches that are, ace recruiters, they tend to jump around a lot. For example, Butch Davis was known as a great recruiter. He jumped around. Tim Brewster, he was at North Carolina. He went to Florida. He was at Florida State before. James Coley, he's been around. Jimbo Fisher jumps around. So a lot of those guys, they do jump around to other programs that are considered ace recruiters. Well, for whatever reason, it's not like a Clemson model where everyone kind of sticks together. Let's do a quick rapid fire, guys. If you have any questions, please put them in the live chat and we'll go ahead and talk about it. Brad, once again, man, thank you so much for coming on, dude. You always do a great job. Great guy as well. And you're just going to have a great podcast. You're going to kill it, man. I'm excited to hear your Miami Heat takes as well.
Yes, sir. Again, man, I appreciate it, man. You're great friend of mine. I can nothing but the best for you, man. If you ever need anything, you let me know.
Appreciate it, Brad. Definitely. And I appreciate you coming out of work, man, to come on, man. So greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Any questions, guys, please feel free to drop it in the comment section and we'll discuss it real quick. One thing to talk about, it's a good point they make. You know, a cornerback group, we only have like 1 3-star. I think it's Marcus Clark per se. Rest, I mean, they are 4-star recruits that we're getting.
They are. Unfortunately, it's just we don't land many corners, so the bodies just aren't there. I mean, you look at last year with Florida, when we played Florida opening game, we only had 4 bodies in total. I mean, that's not good coming first game against playing a powerhouse team like the Florida Gators. You had DJ Ivy that got suspended that game for, I believe, smoking. So you only had Al Blades, and then you had Corey Couch and Christian Williams pretty much playing most of that game. And 2 out of 3 of those guys never played college football until that game, and they actually panned out pretty well. They did. Right. They held their own in that game.
All right, who's going to be the top wide receiver next year, Brad? Go ahead.
Now, are we talking for the
2020 season?
21 class.
I think 2020 season. They meant. That's season? What I got. Yeah.
For this year, I'm going to go with Mike Harley. He's going to be the top.
Mike Harley. Yeah, I think receptions wise, he's definitely our guy. Watch out with D. Wiggins, man. That home run deep threat. Look out for that.
That's the great thing about this offense, man. We're gonna have 3 to 4 guys that you're gonna see break 500 yards easily.
Are we taking a second running back? I know, is it Miami Central Amari Daniels? Is that his full name? Rashard Smith, you can put him in it. Didn't he play running back at Miami Palmetto, kind of as a receiver at the next level? They project him as.
I believe so. Okay. With Amari Daniels, that's a name we didn't mention. Actually, I'm glad they brought that up. So Amari Daniels is definitely on the list for Miami. I know that Miami is going after him pretty strong right now. I believe that they're going to do everything it takes to lock up Amari Daniels for 2 reasons. One, Thad Franklin, yes, he's still in the class, but you never know how things work out with Thad. He has shown previously that he will decommit, so you never know with Thad. But I think the main reason why we're going after Amari Daniels is not only because of his potential or talent, but you got to remember his teammate, Seymour. He is he's probably the only offensive lineman in the class that we're not 100% sure if he's a lock at Miami still. So I think if we lock down Amari Daniels, that pretty much shores up that Seymour's not going anywhere. It's nothing but a win-win situation for the Hurricanes.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait. And plus, he's a guy from Miami Central. He's a local guy, man. You got to get these recruits because then they're going to go to other Power 5 schools and they're going to kill it. We saw that with Tutu Atwell. We saw that with Anthony Schwartz at Auburn, Elijah Moore at Ole Miss. We got to stop missing on these guys. So who has the most touchdowns next year in the red zone?
Brevin Jordan.
Brevin Jordan? Okay, I'm going to say Will Mallory.
Okay.
I'm going to say Will Mallory. You're going to utilize him more in the red zone. He's a big body. He's 6'5". So I think if he can hold on to the football, he'll have a very successful season at Miami. That is the key. Do you think this defensive scheme makes our DBs look bad?
No, I don't. I think the problem was last year we got pass rush obviously with Greg Russo, but the interior just wasn't there. Where I think if we create interior pressure this year, this defensive scheme and the defensive line alone is going to allow these corners to pretty much play assignment football for 3 to 4 seconds. Keep the guy in front of you, don't make any mistakes, and we should be fine. The quarterbacks we play this year are only going to have 3 to 4 seconds to throw a football. There's no offensive line in the country besides maybe your powerhouse SEC teams, Ohio State teams we're probably not going to see next year that are going to be able to hold this defensive line. You got 2 of the best defensive linemen or defensive ends in the nation, along with Jalen Phillips, who could potentially be another one. He was the #1 recruit coming out of high school. Sky's the limit for this D-line. We got nothing but talent everywhere.
And Javari Harvey is a sleeper. I mean, I forget about him as well, but he's going to be very good in the near future.
There's no way there's a defensive in group I've seen recently that is 4 deep like Miami this year. It's phenomenal. It's going to be amazing to watch.
Brad, how many yards do you think Cam Harris will rush for under Rhett Lashley? I'm very excited to see him in this offense, so as much as Jalen Knighton as well.
That's actually a really good question. I actually watched your show the other day with John Michaels, and he brought up a good point. You look at Rhett Lashley's system before at SMU. You had one running back that I believe hit about 1,200 yards, and you had your next running back that was around 500, 600 and got a bunch of receptions. I think you're going to see something similar with Cam and Jalen Knighton. I think Cam definitely could rush for about 1,200 yards as well. Will that be the case? I'm not 100% sure. I think you might see him be around 900, 950, 980 mark, could break 1,000. But I think Jalen Knighton is going to be that X factor. There's no way that kid's not going to touch a lot of the football. But Cam Harris will definitely be one of those guys to look for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I think he can hit 1,000 yards. I love him, throwing the ball to him as well, man. Just get him in space. He's a bowling ball. So yeah. I think just get the ball in his hands and he will be successful. Who has the better season, Nesta Silvera or Jonathan Ford?
It's got to be Nesta. I honestly think we've had very high hopes for Nesta Silvera. Anybody that's followed recruiting or the football team, Nesta is one of those guys where he's a dog. He fits that Miami swag, how he plays football, but the production has not been there. When we saw that American Heritage commitment from those four guys, we weren't sure about Campbell. We weren't sure about Surtain. We weren't sure. Actually, who was the fourth guy? He actually plays for Florida, but I don't believe
C.J. Henderson.
No, not C.J. Henderson. Oh. You had Henderson, you had Surtain, you had
Campbell,
and you had another defensive lineman with Nesta.
Defensive lineman from Broward County.
Yes.
No, there was Sladen that was offensive line.
No, there was another D lineman.
I can't think of it.
Starts with a C. Chatfield. Yes,
Andrew. Oh yeah. Andrew Chatfield. Yeah.
So Andrew Chatfield was another one, but I mean, when we landed Nesta, that was a huge get from Miami, and the potential that we've seen has always been there. We just never seen the production, and if Nesta Silvera wants to play in the NFL, he's got to prove something this year. I mean, he's gonna have all of our D tackles are gonna have all the opportunities in the world to be able to expose their offensive line. There's no way you don't double team our defensive ends. Someone missing Chris Bogle. Yeah, that's another guy. Chris Bogle, Darnell Harris. Those are DNs that kind of wrecked Miami for a while and kind of burned them at the end. But I don't think we needed either one of them.
Hey, Brad, Clemson right now. Dabo Swinney is under a ton of heat for what's been going on lately at the program. Any way we flip Tate or potentially recruits just tend to just want to leave from Clemson?
I don't. Unfortunately, no. I don't think so. I think you would have to see Clemson lose like a game that they're not supposed to lose this year.
Yeah,
they've been pretty dramatic on the field for losses. Unfortunately, the comments he made, some fans or some players will turn their head and still continue to go there. You look at teams like Alabama, South Carolina. I mean, those are heavy places where racism's pretty much involved all the time. And yet most of their players are African American and they're doing their thing on the field. I think you're not going to see anything, unfortunately. But if Miami starts winning, look out, man. We can definitely be a top 5 class. But you'll always see those other teams like Clemson, like Alabama, like Ohio State being the top 5.
Brad, it's not necessarily going to be specified towards Gregory Rousseau. Do you expect more players to have a successful season or maybe underperform and come back in the near future? Or are we going to see a trend at Miami continuously? Let me go pro and maybe I'll shine in the combine, get drafted early, or I'll take an undrafted free agent.
No, unfortunately, I think you're still going to see 3 and out, but I think now the production's going to be there. It's actually going to be a little bit easier for these guys to want to go 3 and out. And I think instead of seeing 5th round, 6th round, 7th round undrafted guys from Miami, you're going to start to see the 2nd rounders, the 3rd rounders, potentially 1st rounders that can go. I mean, a guy like Greg Rousseau, Brevin Jordan, those are 2 guys alone that will obviously be a 1st round draft pick this year as long as they play football. But no, I don't see Greg Rousseau coming back. I don't see Brevin Jordan coming back. I think you look at a guy like Bubba Bolden. If Bubba Bolden has a spectacular year, ends up being in the best safety conversation at the end of the year, that's another kid that could potentially go. Offensive line, only guy that would be going obviously is Donaldson if he plays. You got De'Aaron King that would be going. I think Cam Harris if he hits the 1,000-yard mark this year. I think the production he's had the past couple of years, he's another guy that can probably leave. But no, I don't see any other guys besides them.
Brad, last question to talk about for tonight's show. Can we run the table? I mean, can we go to the ACC title game? And if we're there, I mean, go all in and beat Clemson. Are we, do we have the roster, to do it? I know it seems like every year we have the chance, but man, do you really think we can run the table this season, have a good record, go to the ACC title game, and compete against Clemson?
Absolutely. I think we can definitely run the table this year. You look at our schedule. I was talking to one of my best friends earlier today. The schedule is weak, man. There's no reason why we shouldn't win every football game this year. People talk about North Carolina, Virginia Tech, the Trap Forest, Wake Forest game. Those are all going to be tough games. Same thing with Michigan State. But as we know, Michigan State is pretty much bringing a whole new staff together. Still have not been able to see their players one-on-one yet. So I think that's going to be a big factor for Michigan State. But yes, if you look at the talent on paper between us and every football team we play this year, it's not even close. The gap that always killed us was coaching staff and making the wrong decisions, play calling, and you're not going to see that this year. And of course, main problem was the kicker, man. You have a kicker last year, you win another 2 to 3 games automatically with it.
Yeah.
And we got a kicker. We got a proven one. So the sky's the limit for Miami. I think we definitely need to hit 9-10 games minimum. I think we definitely need to at least be in a football game with Clemson. I was there a few years ago in the very cold up in Charlotte when we got manhandled by Clemson. I actually drove 9 hours from Gainesville to Charlotte and left at halftime of the game and drove all the way back. I was that bad. So.
Yeah.
No, but we need to hit 10 wins, give Clemson a game, go to a bowl game, and win that bowl game. That is Dave Manny Diaz.
I think so, man. I think De'Ara King, if he carries us with his legs, man, I think we can get the job done. Brad, thanks again, man, for coming on the show. It was an honor. It's always a privilege. You killed it. And thank you, everyone. 130 people for 1 hour. Love it, guys. Thank you so much. And I couldn't do it without you guys. Go out, check out Brad's podcast coming out on Slam Radio. He's going to kill it. And once again, guys, it's always all about the U.
All about the U, baby.